Welcome to the Beer Den Podcast. Tonight we'll be drinking 10 Barrel Brewing Company's Crush Raspberry Sour.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Beer Den Podcast. My name is Ethan Hoopy.
And I'm Michael LaRoe. So tonight we're going to try another sour ale. This one is from 10 Barrel Brewing Company. They're out of Bend, Oregon, founded back in 2006. Something that's interesting with them is in 2014, they actually partnered with Anheuser-Busch. And they're part of like the high-end brands, which is like Anheuser-Busch's craft beer division.
Oh, okay.
So that actually includes like Goose Island, Elysian Brewing, and Wicked Weed Brewing. It's kind of interesting, like the big beer companies, like they want to get into this market.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like the craft brewing market has grown so much over the years that I'm not surprised that they want to try to get into it as much as they can.
So let's go ahead and our first impressions of this. Looking at it, it's decently hazy. It's like a grapefruit pink color. Not too much of a head when poured. No lacing really on the sides. A slight carbonation to it.
Yeah, nothing. It's not very fizzy or anything like that. The color reminds me a lot of just like juice, like a raspberry juice.
It smells like wine. That's what that smell. It really smells.
Yeah, a bit like a very fruity wine, I would say, because it doesn't have nearly as much alcohol as like a wine would. But I definitely get what you're saying as far as like the kind of fruit wine smell. As far as the taste, you can definitely get a lot of the sour from it.
Oh yeah,
it's also very sweet. It has a very the raspberry finish to it that, you know, almost is kind of like sort of candy-esque.
I think up front it has kind of like a pink Starburst kind of flavor with a really sour finish.
Yeah.
Mouthfeel though, I'm not picking up too much of a raspberry taste really. I get a lot more of the kind of the alcohol taste to it.
Oh, really?
Like on a dry wine. Which is kind of interesting for like a beer to taste that. To me, it tastes very similar to a wine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think like a dry wine has sort of that kind of tang to it from the alcohol, and I think it's sort of replicated here with the sourness of the beer.
So we base everything on 3 criteria: quality out of 50 points, value out of 25. And design also out of 25. I scored this a 29 on quality. I wasn't too big of a fan of the flavor, but I thought the appearance of it was overall pretty good. To me, though, it kind of looked, at the same time, it looked kind of flat because there wasn't too much carbonation to it.
Yeah.
There was really no head to it. So it kind of just looked like stagnant fruit juice. But I did enjoy the color of it. I thought it was pretty fun.
It was kind of unexpected when we first poured it. Like, was not expecting this kind of like fruit juice red that kind of comes out of it.
Yeah, that was kind of, it took me aback at first, but I did like that overall. Just flavor wise, I thought it could have had a little bit more raspberry.
Okay, a bit more fruit flavor in it, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to me, I thought it was a little too drying. I know it's a sour, but kind of that pucker was overpowering for me.
Yeah.
What did you score it?
I ended up giving it a 39. I thought that for me personally, sour doesn't really get to me, I don't think, as much as maybe it does you. I thought that it was fairly well balanced. The fruit flavor, I kind of agree. I wish that it had a bit more. I wish it had a bit more fruitiness to it. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty smooth drink. Even with the sour aspect to it, I was able to drink it pretty well. You know, it doesn't make me, I guess, like kind of cringe when I'm taking a sip of it. And again, like kind of what I said last time when we had the Ottermelon Ghost beer, was that it's a very fun beer. It's something that it's really unique. I don't think a lot of people try sour beers. I don't even know if I'm sure that there's some people who don't even know that they exist. So yeah, I think it was pretty good. It was a pretty good all around quality beer.
Okay. For value, since I scored it so low in quality, this came in at $12.99 for a 6-pack.
A little bit expensive.
Yeah, so I ended up giving this a 10. What did you score it for value?
Oh, I went with a 18 for value. Even though it's a bit expensive with the $12.99, I think it was. I kind of was forgiving it. It's a more unique beer. So I kind of was expecting something a bit more expensive. So, I think its uniqueness kind of justifies its price.
I think that's a valid reason for that. Design, I think this is where it's going to get a little interesting.
Yeah.
So I think the color is actually pretty representative. It almost matches the color of the beer itself.
Yeah, it does.
But it's just a bright white can, and it just says Raspberry Sour, 10 Barrel Brewing Company, Crush. Yeah. And then it has like some like little stuff. It has a little bit about the company, and they go a little bit into like a broad statement about the sour ale.
Yeah, it's vague, and it's also very short. It's just not detailed very well.
Part of that description, though, is they say, it's brewed to appeal to any palate or virgins of the sour craze. I mean, it's very basic. You would look at it and you're like, okay, this is a sour ale.
I feel like the can is very forgettable, though. Like, it's
in a way, but at the same, like, it's forgettable, but it's also so minimalistic that it's like, you're going to remember it just because it's like, yeah, go get the simple Sour Crush can.
Yeah.
Where, like, there's not a lot going on that's going to confuse you. Like, oh, I think there was, this thing on it, or I can't exactly remember what it was called. It was something like you look at this can and you're like, yeah, I want the raspberry sour.
It's very to the point.
Yeah. So I wanted to score it a little bit more because of that, even though it is a really blank can. Because I've seen bottles that, like, the craftsmanship of the bottle wasn't very good. But like, it also had a lot more going on to it, and I scored it about the same. So I ended up scoring this at a 13.
Okay. For me, I went a little bit lower just because I think that the plainness of it, I for such an adventurous and unique and exciting beer, I feel like the can doesn't really represent that very well. And so I would like to see a bit more to it. I mean, some sort of an image. I think that they could have done a lot with it, with like this sour raspberry kind of theme or something. They could have, I think they had a lot of potential. I just think that, it kind of blends in with everything else. It's to the point, but I almost wish I was a little distracted.
I'm curious to see if they have other types of beer that use the same can type, because that would actually be really cool if you had like a shelf of just 10 Barrel and they were all kind of the same stuff, but just like a white can with letters that match, like not necessarily like what the beer color is like this, but kind of a color that would tie to what that would.
Yeah, it's like blue coloring, orange.
I think like amongst themselves that would look really cool, but maybe amongst everything else, not so much.
Yeah, when comparing it to like, some other craft brews, like the design of those bottles and cans are like so loud and, extreme, that then you have something like this, which is just really simple, minimalistic.
But I think that's almost what probably helps it to stand out too, is you have both ends of the spectrum. You have really busy cans, and then this one's really minimalistic.
Yeah.
So this one might stand out as well.
Yeah. Ultimately for me, I ended up giving it a 10 out of 25. Kind of going back, I wish I had a little bit more to it, but honestly, it's not the worst can I've ever seen.
So overall, Ethan, you scored this at a 67. I scored it at a 52. So averaging those two out, we have a 59.5 for 10 Barrel Brewing Company's Crush Raspberry Sour.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening to another Beer Den review.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. Links down in the description.
Subscribe, like, and share. And if there are any beers you would like us to try out, leave them in the comments below.
We'll see you on the next episode of the Beer Den Podcast.